Hello, welcome to Wildcat Week. I'm Randall King filling in for Roger Alcock. Well, the men's basketball team played the Cougars of St. Francis on Tuesday night of this week. It was a tough matchup, as it always is, but the Wildcats were able to pull away with the win. And here to fill us in on how that happened is head coach Greg Tonagel. Always great to mention you and welcome you here and talk about, wow, what do we got, 11-game win streak right now. How did you make that happen in the Crossroads League?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, our guys are playing well right now. I think you'd probably have to ask Evan Maxwell and Kyle Mangus, who have played spectacular during that run. But we've also got a lot of contributions across the board, including our bench, including some of our young guys.
Is this shaping up, as you look at February, like a typical Crossroads League? You've been 14 years in this league, and I can't remember a time that those standings weren't really knotted up at this point in the season.
Yeah, and we always say this, you know, everybody wants to claim they have the best league in the country, but I think we're proving it this year. We have 5 teams in the top 25, and I think we have 3, maybe 4 national contenders, and there's no other league that can say that. So yeah, we're in the midst of it right now.
You had that hiccup in December where, you know, I don't know exactly what happened, but the team has sort of gelled since then. What I've noticed is that they respond to whatever situation your opponents bring.
Yeah, we were not playing good basketball early December, and but we seem to go through that every year at one time or another, and we're certainly headed in the right direction. And I think a lot of it's just the unity of the team right now. Guys are on the same page. Guys are thinking the same things and pursuing the same things, and as a result, we're playing some pretty good basketball.
A lot of role players, too, that I notice, because a lot of them playing together maybe the second year.
Yeah, and I think guys are starting to figure out, here's how I fit, and here's how I add value, and it's not about me focusing on myself, but focusing on my teammates. That takes a while to produce. That takes a while to get everybody moving in that direction.
Well, let's take a look at those highlights, and what do you have to say? St. Francis coming to town. They're going to play. What happened here early?
Well, we got off to a good start. You see Grant Smith going downhill. We were able to establish Evan in the post early on, and we're not so much relying upon Kyle Mangus as often. And Kyle can do it any which way, but we're not giving him the ball standing and watching. We're getting a lot of contributions from a lot of different people.
And there's Evan Maxwell, and you mentioned him just a moment ago. Just his maturity, I think, coming on as a senior year, second year with the program. What's he give you, you know, maybe not just in points, but in chemistry?
Yeah, Evan has just gone to another level with his mentality and his strength, and he's really scoring it inside and out right now. And there's an urgency to him, which I think comes your senior year when you wind down and you look and you say, look, I got 2 months left of basketball, and he's giving everything he's got.
Come back here. With highlights, you're going to see a lot of points. You also struggled, I think, with three-point shooting. Both teams did.
Yeah.
And just watching St. Francis here fight for buckets, your defense, I think, in the month of January has just been really something.
That's been the area probably that has improved the most. Is defensively we've been able to get stops. There's been some key games where we have held the other opponent without a field goal in the last 5 minutes of the game. That's happened multiple times, and that's when you depend upon your defense the most late in games, and you got to be able to buckle down and get a stop.
Saw Maxwell filling the lane there. Good assist as always from Joel Okafor. They start hitting a few threes, but three-point shooting really wasn't the game, particularly in the first half. There's Joel making one there. But what happened that sort of kept this close through that first half?
Well, it was a back and forth game, and you know, at halftime we didn't feel great, but we looked and they had 33 points, including 2 3-pointers that we felt like we gave them by just not paying attention to a really good shooter. So the reality was we could have come in there holding them under 20 or in the 20s. I really thought it was our offense that we missed some shots. We didn't make threes like we had been making. So we had to adjust and say, no, let's find a way to get the ball inside a little bit more.
Rare times that St. Francis gets in on you. And I just have to notice, as you might expect from a St. Francis team, they're not going to go away. They're not going to make it easy until you found something in that second half.
Yeah, they're really battling, and I mean, they came in a little bit, they were down a man, dealing with some injuries, so sometimes that's good for your team because you come in with a heightened sense of awareness and you're going to fight a little bit more, and I thought they certainly fought and battled us.
Still first half here, St. Francis trading baskets with you, and you get some points there from your bench. What do you get there as far as spark?
Well, Isaiah's been playing really good basketball, giving us great minutes, coming in there and giving Joel a spell here and there, but also Kanan and even Kyle Mangus at times. So Seth Maxwell's another freshman that's given us more minutes, and we need those guys because when you get into January and February, you got to rely upon your bench to lengthen things for the starters.
We just traded ends at halftime. Right before we went to the half, there we see Mangus doing what Mangus does, and I think Kyle has really found something. He's become a second half player, although he's not quiet in the first half, but when you need him, he's there. But what do you see here early, and then in a moment here, we're going to sort of see the pull away. What started to happen, both for you and for them?
Well, I think that's what I like about our team is they took a lead, and we took it right back and really never looked back after that. And this team's always got another level to go to, I think. And I don't think we're holding back. I just think when really pressed and pushed, they respond pretty well. They don't turn inward, they really turn outward. And I mean, you see right there Grant Smith making a great defensive play, and he's starting to become healthier, and when he's healthier, he adds another dimension to what we can do.
I think we see this every week, but we say something like this every week, but there's some times we see Grant go flying and we worry. Do you ever worry as a coach on the bench?
He's all over the place. He's an athlete, and he will give up his body to make spectacular plays. And now his outside shots.
There's the bucket there, and it really has been a spectacular sophomore season for him. I think that's one of the stories of this season. It's growing. There's many others, but Grant has really just kind of rounded things out. There's a great pass. You see that from him. Another right in a row.
Here's the underrated thing. Grant went 11 assists, 1 turnover in this game. That's an unbelievable stat. That's very efficient. That really powered our offense, and I think he had to have made 17 or 18 points to go along with it. So what a heck of a ball game for him.
And here's that stretching it out as we get inside of 2 minutes. And like you said, the ability to put teams away is something I think this team maybe found through this January.
Yeah, I think early on we had gotten, when I say early on, November, December, 7, 8 point leads, they'd go to 1 or 2. Now these 7, 8 point leads are going to 12 and 15, and I think we're learning how to finish off teams.
Well, I know every time I sit here with you that I'm never going to expect a coach to look past anyone, especially not in this league, but you've got this date. You've got to go to Taylor. I think you've got to go to Goshen, and you've got this date sitting there with Spring Arbor coming in here. Have you allowed your guys to talk about Spring Arbor again? We're going to get that one back.
No, all we're talking about is Goshen, and that's not just coaches speak, but that's the reality of we've got to take care of that one first. And there's nothing easy in this league, especially on the road. So we're locked into Saturday and Saturday only right now.
You may not talk it, but the players do. What does having, you have a veteran team in some ways, you also have a veteran in terms of the postseason run. You got a couple of freshmen in Mangus and Smith who went all the way to the national tournament in their freshman year. Does that seasoning start to work at this point in the season in terms of maturity and keeping everyone calm? Even if you're not talking about the next game, they can say, you know, we've been here before?
Absolutely. The experience these guys have, I think, is very beneficial this time of year because it's a mental grind, and you got to know how to handle that. You can't get too high and you can't get too low. And having guys that have marched through this time, having won it last year, I think provides a lot of the young guys on our team with some valuable experience.
All right. Well, as always, thanks for joining us, Coach Greg Tonagel, and we're going to be there with cameras and follow you guys and keep going. The Wildcats do travel to Goshen on Saturday. That game at 3 p.m. Check it out if you're in the northern part of the state. When we come back, we'll take a look at the women's basketball game, also against St. Francis. So don't go away for more Wildcat Week. And welcome back to Wildcat Week. The women's basketball team also played St. Francis on Tuesday, and this secured a 2-game lead over the third-place spot. And now to break that game down with us is head coach Ethan Whaley, and it's always good to talk about a win. A win over St. Francis. I know they may not be as competitive as they have been in years past, but this is a nemesis, let's face it. They come in here, they always bring their game, they always bring something both on the men's and women's side. What did it feel like?
Yeah, I would disagree that they're not as competitive. Their records, I know what you're saying. Their record's a little bit down this year, but man, every game that they lose is a tight game. I mean, last time we played them at their place, it went in triple overtime and we won by 1. The thing that you know against St. Francis is it will always be a battle, And that was exactly what it was the other night. We were fortunate enough to come out with a win.
Your second year as a coach on the women's side, what are you learning about this Crossroads League and this stretch one in January and how to coach a team through, kind of ups and downs?
Yeah, you said it very well. This Crossroads League is full of ups and downs because every team, every night is really good. And so you just can't get down when you don't play well. And when you play well, you can't think you've done anything because you got another one coming in 2 days and that team's just as good. So I would say more than anything, just understand that it is an up and down season. It's a long, grueling season, and the tougher team will come out on top, hopefully at the end in February.
When you put together the film for this, and we'll look at it in just a moment, do you like the way you're playing now looking ahead to February?
Yeah, I think we're playing better stretches, longer stretches of good basketball than we were in November, December, and early January, which is where you want to be. I was really proud of our physicality and our execution down the stretch.
Well, here we go with the highlights, and this is a team that likes to step back and shoot the threes. No surprise there. Did you see anything early on that was surprising to you, or was this St. Francis what you expected?
No, they came out, like I said, they're so talented, and when you give them open looks, they're going to make you pay. So they did that early on, but once we all kind of settled in, they were up 15-7, I think, early in the first, but we settled in, and, middle of the first quarter on, I felt like we really controlled the game.
You've got several teams in the league that you've faced this year that just really like to sit back there and shoot threes. What is your counter to that?
Just keep making them make tough shots. One thing Dan Dockich says a lot on ESPN is water finds its level. Sometimes shooters get hot.
There's Margot, speaking of getting hot early on. She's kind of a spark, isn't she?
She really is. She brings the juice, as we would say. She brings that fire and that competitiveness that we feed off of and that we need.
You see Nicole there with 2 in a row. I'd say one of your counters is you've got a strong inside game where some teams don't have that. See Margot again taking the 3, but you can always go in and it keeps you balanced.
Yeah, you said it again very well. We've got great balance inside and out, and I think that's what makes us tough to defend.
Still close here as we're in the second quarter. Start to get separation here. Katie Key had a big night.
She did, and she continues to take the right shots. Sometimes they fall, sometimes they don't, but like we said earlier, Randall, water finds its level, and
there's Carly with another 3, and then you come back with Elena, it looks like there. So a lot of different pieces working together here, because St. Francis is still going to sit back and shoot on you, but you had to see some of those. You've had some nights where Carly or someone like that would be outside, and she keeps putting them up to her credit, but just not dropping. It's good to see that happen.
Yeah. When you make shots, everything looks a lot better. Unfortunately, I think we were 10 for 19 from 3 against St. Francis.
I'm still seeing some close action here as you wind down in that second quarter. Katie, we mentioned earlier, had a couple of opportunistic shots. She really, has she gained in confidence as far as knowing you want her to take that shot?
Yeah, I think her teammates and obviously our coaching staff just continue to tell her every time she shoots it, we believe it's going in. And when you have that support, it's a lot easier to shoot confidently.
And here we are in the third quarter. When did you ever feel like this thing was really getting the separation you needed here? You're 12, 13 points ahead.
Yeah, there was a stretch late in the third. We were up 15, and we were really in a flow. But as you know, when you play great teams, you can never let off the gas. And sure enough, St. Francis made a little run here. Cut it to 6 late, but we were able to hold on and pull it out.
There's a little bit of that run. See your defensive pressure there. They made her work for that shot, even though she got inside on you.
Yeah. They started making shots early, and then we tried to tighten up, and they countered with driving us. And so then it became who can contain the basketball.
Like Katie, they're looking at the 3, which is her shot, and then saw the open lane, also driving. And I think that's something we've seen here in her senior year is the aggressiveness.
Yeah, she just plays with such great pace, such great poise, and very balanced. She can shoot it, but when she puts it on the floor, she's very effective as well.
St. Francis still doing some work here in the third. At this point, you're comfortably kind of keeping that 13-point margin. Not always comfortable until you get close to the end there.
They say it ain't over till the fat lady sings, and that was certainly the case the other night. When you play really good teams, that's what happens, and they play to the final buzzer, and again, we were fortunate enough to come out with a win.
Does these lady Wildcats kind of need that January's been up and down. There's been some tough ones. There's been some close ones. To really kind of stretch one out and close it out against a good team.
Yeah, I think losing NC Crest, early on in January, it really kind of it threw off our rhythm a little bit. We had to find ourselves, and we're starting to get in a groove and understand new roles. People are stepping up every night, and we're building momentum for the home stretch, and with 5 games left, this is a really good spot for us to be in.
Well, you know what's ahead. You got to go to Goshen, and I know team coaches always want to talk. Tonagel did in the first segment, 1 game at a time, and that's the right thing to do. But you got a date in Upland. Anything you want to say about? Do you think your players want to get that one back?
Oh, I think our players always want to get a win, and especially when you play Taylor, you want to get it back. But just much like Coach T, we're talking about Goshen right now, and then Saturday evening we'll continue to focus on Goshen. Starting Sunday through Wednesday, it'll be all on Taylor.
Perfect coach's answer. By the way, we will be at the Taylor game again with cameras. That one will be live on WIW-TV. But in the meantime, the women's basketball team, as we said, be back on the road Saturday against Goshen. So if you find yourself in that part of the state, go check it out. They play at 1 p.m. And when we come back, Mikala Woodfork will bring us the breakdown, and we'll talk to IWU Cheerleading head coach Lindsay Reep about their competitive season. Welcome back to Wildcat Week. Now we'll send it over to Mikala Woodfork with the breakdown.
Thanks, Randall. The Wildcats played some great basketball last weekend as they had easy wins against Bethel College. The women beat Bethel 87-72. Katie Key led the Wildcats in scoring with 16 points, followed by 5 other Wildcat players who scored in the double digits. The men beat Bethel 98-89. Bethel only took the lead in the game one time at 26-25 in the first half, but the Wildcats did not let that last long. They came back with a bang, getting a big lead that won them the game. Next up, the teams had very intense back-to-back games against St. Francis. The men won 81-65. Evan Maxwell led in scoring with 25 points, Grant Smith had 18, and Kyle Mangus had 15. The last time the women faced St. Francis, they went into a triple overtime and won by just 1 point. This time the Wildcats were able to win by 7 points at 68-61. Nicole Ignashik led the Wildcats in point at 19, Margot Woofter had 16, and Carly Lang had 15. Well, that's all I have for you this week on the breakdown. Back to you, Randall.
And thank you, Mikala. Well, IWU Cheerleading hosts the Wildcat Invite tomorrow. Here to give us a little more insight on the team as they get ready for cheerleading competition is head coach Lindsay Reep and cheerleader PJ Sobotka. Welcome, folks. And so what's it like? You do all this cheering for everyone else, because that's what you're there for, to get ready for your own competition. Coach?
Yeah, it is a little different competing-wise. We do spend a lot of time in our practice time getting ready for games for football and basketball, but our main focus as a competitive team is our competition season, which kicks off tomorrow night, Friday night. PJ,
you're the captain. Do you think, unless they've seen the movies about it or seen the competitions that used to be on ESPN, you think people remember these days that you guys are a team and you have all this work to do and all those kinds of things?
I'd hope so, because we've been working on this routine that we're going to throw tomorrow since September. So, yes, we've been practicing for cheering football and basketball, but we've also been practicing to be a competition cheerleading team. So we've been working since actually July to get to this point where we're starting tomorrow. So it's very exciting.
And do you get a chance to do pieces of the entire thing or the entire thing, like at halftime occasionally at a basketball game?
Ideally, we would love to be able to put it in front of a crowd before we actually compete, but we have not had the opportunity to do that this year. A couple games we'll be able to do that.
What's it like as a coach to do all to try to choreograph these kinds of things, then work through all the routines? Just like any other sport, you don't see, all we see is the performance. We don't see the work behind it.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. Like PJ said, we've been working since about October on this routine, but then all the prep work from the summer that kind of goes into building up what happens on the floor. So.
PJ, I've always wanted to know, how much strength do you guys have to have? Usually it's the guys doing the holds, but also the ladies are doing obviously strength things, strength conditioning, all those things we associate with other sports. What do you guys have to bring in that area?
Well, it honestly all starts with technique, because, I mean, you can be as strong as you can really want to be, but if your technique's bad, it's not going to be as good as it could be. And then it just kind of starts from there. Once you have good technique, your strength comes into play. The guys lift at least 3 days a week. Then the girls are also, they've been cheering a lot longer than all the guys, so their technique has been developed since probably they were 14 years old. And some are going to be juniors in college now, so it's been a while. So their technique and strength is good because they've been cheering for so long.
At this level, Coach, is it athleticism? Is it how many flips and that, or is it artistry? Is it some combination of all those? What do you think you have to put forward to be competitive?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a little bit of everything. So our routines are judged on difficulty, so how difficult of skills we're performing, but then also execution. And then we are also deducted on anything that doesn't hit well. So it's finding that balance between all three and just building up for the best that you can.
So it might be something like, we would see like a judged competition, skating,
Yes.
gymnastics or something like that, but you've got to get a team of how many people all in sync?
Yes, and that is the unique part about competitive cheer is you have 20 athletes that have to be perfectly in sync. Otherwise, that's a deduction compared to a single sport of gymnastics where you're competing on your own. A lot of the time, we have 20 athletes on the floor and they all have to be doing the same thing at the same time.
There's a little bit of dance there too.
Yes.
In the
Yes.
strictest sense of the word. PJ, what's next? And you get through this week. How many teams are coming in?
I think 4.
Okay, and then where do we go next? Competition, nationals? Is
that sounds about right.
We shoot for the moon around here at IWU.
Yeah, yes we do.
Well, great. We wish you both well. Coach, PJ, thanks for coming in, and we'll try to catch you in those timeouts. Little things, but it'd be fun to see the entire competition. So you can go and support the Wildcat cheerleaders. As we said, that is Friday night, February 1st, 7 p.m. They will compete in the Wildcat Invite, and that will be at Lucky Arena.
Yes.
Correct. Great. Thank you so much. And that is all we have for you on this episode of Wildcat Week. If you'd like to see more of Wildcat Week, you can always visit our website, wiwutv.com. You can look at past episodes and also connect with us online. Guess again, that's wiwutv.com. And you can always stay connected with all of our local programming by subscribing to our YouTube channel. That's wiwutv TV 51, and do subscribe. We look forward to seeing you next week, and for all of us here, I'm Randall King, and thanks for watching.